I picked up some more apples. Let's see what all we made with them. Hello and welcome to Kim's Cozy Corner. Today we're going to make some more apple butter, and then we're going to use the peelings and the cores and try to make apple jelly. Hello everyone, my name is Kim and you're at Kim's Cozy Corner. I grow all of my own food with the exception of fruits. And when it comes to fruits, I buy all of my fruits from like a local orchard. And if I can't get them, then I will get fruits from the grocery store when they come in, and they're super cheap in the grocery store. Well, guess what, y'all? Honeycrisp apples were on sale in my local grocery store. So I bought exactly 6 pounds of apples because I need 6 pounds of apples to make apple butter for the recipe that I use. So I had a few apples left from the bushel that I purchased. So I'm using those first because they're more ripe. And then I'll just trade out the ones from the grocery store because, you know, they pick those a little green. So I have my 6 pounds of apples that we're going to peel and core to start making the apple butter first. And then we're going to figure out how to make apple jelly out of the peels and the core. So the first thing that I need to do is peel and core those apples. So let's do that first. Nothing special with this process here. But we will be taking these apple pieces and turning them, we will be taking the cores and turning the cores into jelly. That's the only new thing that we're going to try to do this time. Honeycrisp is my preferred apple when I'm canning. And I've talked about it a couple different times in a couple different videos. So canning, Honeycrisp is my preferred apple. I like the sweet, tart taste of Honeycrisp. I like the texture. It's firm, typically, if it's not too ripe. So let me finish peeling and coring these apples and trying not to eat too many. And I will bring you back. All right, here's our 6 pounds of apples. And then here are the remnants of my cores and my peels. So we're going to set this to the side for now, and we're going to get that apple butter started. All right, the first step for these, or the next step, I should say, for these apples is 2 cups of apple cider, apple juice, whatever you want. While I was in the store, they had some fresh apple cider, not from concentrate, so it's fresh. There's no additives, there's nothing in it. So we're gonna use apple cider this time. And y'all, I love apple cider. Apple cider tastes so good. And I only buy it this time of year if I'm gonna buy it at all. So now we're gonna cook down these apples until they're nice and soft, kind of like mashed potatoes. And then I'll bring you back for this project. All right, my apples are nice and soft, looking like mashed potatoes. So we will move these over and we'll give them a quick blend. But I'm gonna set them to the side for now so you can see what I'm doing with the cores and the peels. So I have cores and peels in here. Nothing special about them. They don't look so hot. I didn't even put anything on them to keep them from browning. So there are the cores and the peels. The recipe that I found said take somewhere between 15, or was it 12 and 20? 12 and 20 apples 15 to 20 apples, which I didn't do. I may have had 12. I don't know. I might have had 15 apples. I don't know. But they said put the cores and the peels in the pot, the recipe that I found, and then it called for 6 cups of water. Since I didn't have enough apples, you can actually make apple jelly from apple juice. So I put 4 cups of water and I put in 2 cups of apple cider because that's what I had. So I just want to make sure, as I'm spilling it, I want to make sure that I have a good, nice, strong, intense apple taste. And so I'm supposed to cook this 20 to 30 minutes. So we will get this on, we'll get it boiling 20 to 30 minutes. And then that's going to take all of those juices out of those apples. And at the end, I need to end up with 7 cups of juice. 7 cups is what I'm hoping for in the end of this. So we'll see what we come up with. And it says if you don't get enough, you can add water. I'm not going to add water. I'm going to add more juice if I don't get enough. So here we go. And I am trying to make these apple cores without pectin. In order to do that, you have to have enough acidity, right? Your apples have to have enough acid in them. Did I say acid? Your apples must have enough acid in them to make jelly, to get it to gel without adding pectin. And I have pectin, but I'm going to try to make it without pectin. So we'll see what happens. If you're not used to making jellies and jams and that kind of stuff, then I would recommend that you use pectin. It's faster, it's easier, and it gives you a larger quantity than the way that I'm doing it. But I've made jellies and jams before, and I've always made them without pectin. Well, when I first started, I used pectin, but now I don't use pectin when I make my jellies and jams. So we're gonna go no pectin. Wish me luck. So let's move over, now that I got these on and cooking, we will move over and give these apples a good toss in the blender. So when I finish with my apples here, I should have 12 cups of apples. Let's see where I end up. And you see they're nice and smushy. It's gonna look like applesauce basically when I get done giving them a quick, and I do mean a very quick toss. Oh, they smell so sweet already. I might not add any sugar to this. I might not add any at all because I used apple cider, which is sweeter than apple juice. And so we will see. I might not add any whatsoever. And I said 12 cups. That's not correct. I need to end up with 8 cups. That's not correct. I'll have to look at the recipe. I don't remember. I was trying to hit the pulse button. I like to leave my applesauce and apple butters just slightly chunky. I don't want it, that's good. I don't want it like puree. That's good. Yep. All right, so there's our sauce. It looks just like applesauce right now, and this could be applesauce, but yeah, I'm sorry, it's good though. There's 8 ounces, and then I still have a little bit more in the pot. I think it is 12, not 8 ounces, 8 cups. Lord have mercy. I think I am supposed to end up with 12 cups. And looking at this here, it looks like I'm right on the nose. Here is our apples and apple cider that we're going to use to make apple butter with. So let's move back over. All right, in this pot here, now it's time for us to add the other ingredients. So I need a half a teaspoon of cloves, ground cloves, half teaspoon. And I need 1.5 teaspoon of cinnamon. So there's my half teaspoon. There's the one. And I could have just used the same one, but I didn't. There we go. And now it's calling for sugar. Now, y'all, I don't like adding a whole bunch of sugar to stuff. So I'm going to stir this up. I'm going to taste it. And then I'll decide whether or not I'm going to add sugar because I already have the apple cider in there. And this is super sweet already. So let's mix it up and then let's taste. How it tastes? It tastes good. I got my mother over there doing a quality check on the dishes before we wash them up. She's over there tasting it. I left a little bit in the blender. She over there tasting it. All right, let's get this stirred up before I turn it on and it's too hot for me to taste. It's a real light color. It's gonna be chocolate brown when I'm done with my butter though. But let's get it mixed up and then we will start cooking it down. Let's give it a taste. Now the taste is going to be deeper and richer the longer it cooks because we're turning it into butter. So let's taste it. For apple butter, it's not sweet enough, but it calls for 3 cups of sugar. I'm not going to add no 3 cups of sugar. We will start with a cup of sugar. We will mix it up again. We will taste it again. Last time I used apple juice versus apple cider, and I added 2 cups, and 2 cups was plenty. So again, different apples, right? These apples, at least the ones from the store, they were more green, so they weren't as sweet as the apples that I got from the farmer. So I might have to add a little more sugar. We will see. But let's start here. Half cup, we're done. And all honesty, I already think it's sweeter than it was before. I'll put a half a cup in. We're gonna call that good. We're gonna turn the stove on and we're gonna start cooking until I get that deep brown color and when I can get peaks and the juice doesn't run away. So there we go. This pot is looking good and it's tasting delicious. So we will put the lid on this and we will call that good to go. Now let's get over here and check on our apple cores. They're just now getting hot. Now, since I'm making an apple jelly, you could strain it with cheesecloth and all that kind of stuff to get a nice clear liquid. I don't care about all of that, y'all. I don't care about that. What I care about is the taste. And so my apple jelly will have flavor. It's going to have residues in it, right? It's going to have all of that kind of stuff in it because I don't care about the color. I'm just hoping I can get it to gel up with the way that I cook it. So we will see what happens. And we're going to get it to boil real good until everything in this pot gets nice and soft, just like we did with the apple butter. So we're going to make sure everything's nice and soft. I am in one of my Dutch ovens. It takes a long time for these things to heat up. But once it heats up, it'll be a nice even cook once it starts cooking. So it may take longer than 20 to 30 minutes because it wasn't already hot. So we will cook it as long as we need to cook it. And then we will strain it off and we'll make jelly. But for now, this is where we are. I'll bring you back when it's time to do something else.
It's time for us to start straining off the apple cores and the peels. There's so much going on in the kitchen, I couldn't turn my sound on. But you can see the apple cores and the peelings are nice and soft. They're all kind of like the same color now because they're so soft. And we're getting ready to go over here and strain it in this bowl that you see here. Now, the first thing I thought to do in this process was to take the apple cores and the peels and move those over into the strainer first. And so to do this process, I figured let's get that over, let it start dripping through because one, the Dutch oven's very hot and it's big and it's heavy. So I wanted to get those out first before I thought about pouring the juices over into that container. Once the cores and the peelings were out, I dipped as much of the juice as I could so I didn't have to pick up the heavy pot. So I dipped and dipped until most of it was out, and then I had to actually pick the pot up to pour the final juices over the strainer. And so I couldn't afford to waste any of the juices because I needed 7 cups and I was coming up very short. So I let it strain for quite a while to try to get all the juices out that I could before I called it quits on the amount of juice I was able to get out. Then I was supposed to add 7 cups of sugar to the juice itself. And yes, jelly has a ton of sugar in it, a ton of sugar. And if you really wanted to get it to gel, you really need to follow all of the directions in your recipe. So I'm putting 7 cups of sugar into this juice. After all 7 cups of sugar were in, I needed to add 4 tablespoons of lemon juice to the mixture. It is important that you put the lemon juice in. This is not something you can leave out of the recipe. Once you have all 4 tablespoons in, you're going to want to give it a good stir. Make sure all the ingredients are mixed up, that the sugar's fully dissolved before we move on to the next step. Once everything is mixed in very well, you want to bring this mixture to a boil. Now that the mixture is boiling, this is when the magic starts to happen. Remember, I am not using any pectin in this process. To not have to use pectin, I need to bring my boil to 220 degrees Fahrenheit. So 212 is the temperature for boiling water. I need to get to 220. So I'm going to keep checking to make sure that I am hot enough, I'm boiling fast enough, and we're going to get to the right temperature to start that gelling magic. Once I hit that magic temperature, I put a cold spoon into the boiling liquid to see how it drips off of the spoon. When it drips off as a sheet of liquid, I know I am there and where I need to be. And it's at that point I will jar up this jelly and I will go through the canning process, which means I'm going to cook it for about 10 minutes in a water bath canning process. And once it cools, it will turn into the gel. And this is going to be a soft spread, not a hard jelly, a very soft spread. And that's the whole process for making apple jelly.
Okay, we are completely finished with our canning adventure. So we were making a couple different things. One, we were making apple butter, and this time we used apple cider versus apple juice to make the apple butter. And it is sweeter. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's much sweeter than with the apple juice, and I use less sugar. So anyway, it's nice. It's not as deep and rich as the last batch, but is absolutely delicious. All right, so that's the apple butter. And then I used the peelings and the cores to make a very soft apple jelly spread. And it's going to be hard to see, but it's a very soft spread. It's not a super hard jelly, right? It's not thick and stiff. It's a very soft spread. And I didn't use any pectin to do this. But in order to do this, remember, you got to get that temperature up above, what is it? 212 is the temperature Fahrenheit. 212 is the temperature of boiling water, and I needed to go 8 degrees above that. So I had to get it up to 220 and hold that steady boil in order for it to change the chemical makeup to make it turn into a jelly. All right, so that's those two items, and I ended up with, and we already done ate some, y'all. I'm a little late on wrapping up this video, but I ended up with one, right? Just one, yep. Yeah, just one pint jar for the home. That way we don't have to keep changing it out. And then a whole bunch of half pint size jars. So I ended up with 2, 4, 6, I think only 6 pint size jars, and then, or half pints. And then 2, what is that, a quarter? 2 quarter pint sized jars, but they're not over here anymore. We are eating out of one, and we gifted the other. So those are the apple jellies. And I'm going to be honest with you, I was worried for a minute. I thought they weren't going to seal, but they did seal. But I was canning, I was waiting around, and I had some potatoes that were starting to get eyes on them. They were starting to come up. They had eyes on them. And the one thing I like to do is not waste any food. So I went ahead and I took those potatoes, I cut those potatoes up, and I went ahead and canned those potatoes. So I have a quart jar, a pint and a half size jar, and a pint jar of potatoes. Now, we eat a lot of potatoes around here, and we grew over 100 pounds of potatoes, and we don't want to waste any of them. So that's why we're changing the state they're in. So I think we ate, throughout the week 2 quart-sized jars, and we've replaced them basically is what we've done. And there's a few more in there, so the next time I'm doing a canning project, I'll do a few more potatoes because we're not going to lose our harvest. But that's it. We had some fun making some apple jelly and some apple butter. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry about having to do the voiceover, but there was a lot going on in the house, and so we had to do the voiceover instead. But that's it. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. I got lots going on here at Kim's Cozy Corner, and there will be more canning videos coming up this fall and winter as we're waiting to get back outside to the outside garden. So until next time, and I hope there will be a next time that you hang out with me, Kim, at Kim's Cozy Corner. Bye. We have apple butter. We have apple jelly. Yeah, I'm messing up.